We are a media company and we are called Berlingske Media. It's a Danish media company. It's been around for 275 years. We are in the business of democracy. The world as it is today is more chaotic than 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. We have much more misinformation these days from governments, from different organizations. I think it's important that we find a business model that can support people getting information that is trustworthy and that they can rely on when they make decisions. The past years, Berlingske Media has been transformed into a digital media company. It's still the traditional legacy brands Berlingske, Weekendavisen and BT, plus Euroinvestor that we publish. It's all done digital first. The whole organization is a matrix organization, so all 4 brands are supported by the same IT, the same sales departments and so forth. The challenge that we would like to give you today is regarding our main brand, Berlingske, which constitutes about half of our turnover.
I'm the editor-in-chief at Berlingske. We have existed since 1749, but we exist now in an ever-changing world where the conditions for making journalism in a healthy democracy is changing rapidly. And it's our responsibility and my responsibility as an editor-in-chief to make sure that the journalism that we deliver is actually fact-based. The reason why we need to have a profitable business is to make sure that we can afford the journalism that can do a positive difference for our democracy.
Our challenge to you is: how can Berlingske evolve its digital offering to better engage and retain users aged 18 to 30?
Thereby reaching an additional 5 million kroner in revenue within this segment by 2027.
We hope you're up for the challenge.
Good luck and thank you.
We're VML Map. We're a part of the world's largest creative company, VML, with 150 plus offices across the globe and 30,000 employees in consulting, tech, creativity, and more. As world-leading specialists within VML, we help some of the world's biggest brands create lasting human connections to their customers. So, what does that mean? It means we tailor experiences through data to create meaningful interactions between a brand and, well, people. Someone like you, for instance. But to make that impact matter, we need people with a curious streak, strategic minds, creative souls, thinkers and makers, people who love to look for the right answer. At VML Map, we reward that curiosity with opportunity and ownership. And you will be part of a truly international team with over 50 nationalities across 5 continents and a main office in Copenhagen. Start your career strong. Join VML Map.
At 23, we believe video is more than a medium, as the most human way to communicate online. It's a force that builds businesses and strengthens relationships. Why? Because video is real. Video has changed almost everything about the way companies market their products and communicate with their customers. If you're in marketing or you work directly with customers, chances are you prioritize video because it creates trust and deepens engagement like nothing else. But maybe you think doing video well is challenging. Well, it was. Until now. Welcome to 23, the platform that makes it easy for everyone on your team to get real with video. More and more companies around the world are using 23 as their home for everything video. From running videos on their sites, integrating video with their CRM, or using the industry's leading video analytics to keep improving their video marketing. With 23, everyone on your team can record and send videos straight from the browser, alone or collaboratively. They'll create deeper connections with your audience with no training, no equipment, and no fuss. 23 also gives you the market's most sophisticated webinar tool, fully customizable to ensure on-brand experiences. You'll be up and running in minutes, and you can scale globally when you're ready. And tie everything together with the 23 video marketing platform. Publish your channels, then manage, analyze, and scale your efforts without the need for third-party hosts. Thousands of marketing teams from startups to global enterprises agree video is the one truly human touchpoint in a digital world. And that's why they've already upgraded the way they do video to 23. Ready to join them?
just keeps on turning. Got the future on your mind.
The problems that we try to solve are partly intellectual and analytical, partly persuasion and leadership. I've never personally seen any individual person who could do that on his own. It has to be done in groups of people. They have to be able to be flexible. They have to be trusting. They have to feel like, I can't let that team member down.
Magnetic north would mean that depending on the situation, depending on what you think the client might want to hear, depending on what was convenient for you, you could change a little bit sort of the answer of what you're doing. True north means that you have a set of values that absolutely anchor you.
And we are committed as a firm to build not just client success stories, but people success stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this Friday evening at the Scandic Falconer Hotel, and welcome to the grand final of the CBS Global Case Competition, the biggest student-run case competition in the world. My name is Mamoon, and I've been a part of a dedicated organization that has worked tirelessly on organizing the Global Case Competition. And this includes tonight, the grand culmination, the grand conclusion, or in other words, the CBS Global Case Competition. Back in May, I got a phone call from our steering committee when they were selecting this year's organizing committee, and they told me that they want me to join CCC and asked me if I were interested in being lead on the global case competition. And of course, I said yes. And right after I said yes, they said that they were actually thinking about moving the competition from February to November. What do I think about that? I'm not gonna lie, at first I was a bit overwhelmed with this piece of information. I didn't really know what to say, but after evaluating the short timeline and the positives and the negatives of that, I said, yes, let's do it. And luckily for me, I had the best team thinkable to help me organize this event. So thank you for that. And here we are today, a timeline reduced from 9 months to 6. But despite the timeline, nothing has changed. More than 2,700 students from 93 different nationalities has come together to solve the Berlingske media case. And right after everyone submitted their brilliant ideas, the entire organizing committee got together to start a thorough screening process, narrowing all of the amazing solutions down to the top 20 solutions. We then handed off the top 20 solutions to our consulting partner, Bain & Company, who further narrowed those numbers down to the top 9 solutions. And there it was, our semifinalists. The semifinals were held last Thursday, and once we had our finalists, we booked them some tickets right away to Copenhagen. And that is why we're here tonight, to celebrate the finalists who have made it this far despite the absolutely crazy competition. But for us, that is not sufficient. We would also like to celebrate the 2,700 ambitious students, because reimagining the future of a brand with a legacy worth of 4 centuries is not an easy task. So let's take a moment and acknowledge all of the sweat, tears, dedication all of the 2,700 students have put into solving this case.
Went from Mr. 305, Dade County, to Mr. Worldwide, all around the world. International, so international, international, so international.
Brilliant stuff. We hope that you will enjoy this celebrative evening and later join us for mingling and fun at the after-party venue. But right before I give the stage to the lovely case developers, I want you to meet the jury panel for tonight. Brilliant. First, we have Lisbeth Røe Jensen, CCO of Berlingske Media. Please take your seat. Second, we have Tom Jensen, Editor-in-Chief, Berlingske. Third, we have Jens Hjortegaard, Senior Partner in Bain & Company. Please take your seat. Fourth, we have Le Gammeltoft, Interim CCO/CMO of Netcompany. Fifth, we have Helle Østergaard, CEO of Danske Commodities. Sixth, we have Nana Bule, Advisor and Non-Executive Director. Seventh, we have Kasper Skriver, Global Head of Operations via Melmap. Give them a big, big, big round of applause, and thank you for spending your Friday evening here with us. Now, I've been talking a lot about CCC, I've been talking a lot about global, and I've also been talking a lot about myself. But I think it's time that we move on into what tonight is all about. Amazing presentations and the Berlingske media case. Thank you, guys.
We are a media company and we are called Berlingske Media. It's a Danish media company. It's been around for 275 years. We are in the business of democracy. The world as it is today is more chaotic than 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. We have much more misinformation these days from governments, from different organizations. I think it's important that we find a business model that can support people getting information that is trustworthy and that they can rely on when they make decisions. The past years, Berlingske Media has been transformed into a digital media company. It's still the traditional legacy brands Berlingske, Weekendavisen and BT, plus Euroinvestor that we publish. It's all done digital first. The whole organization is a matrix organization, so all 4 brands are supported by the same IT, the same sales departments and so forth. The challenge that we would like to give you today is regarding our main brand, Berlingske, which constitutes about half of our turnover.
I'm the editor-in-chief at Berlingske. We have existed since 1749, but we exist now in an ever-changing world where the conditions for making journalism in a healthy democracy is changing rapidly. And it's our responsibility and my responsibility as an editor-in-chief to make sure that the journalism that we deliver is actually fact-based. The reason why we need to have a profitable business is to make sure that we can afford the journalism that can do a positive difference for our democracy.
Our challenge to you is: how can Berlingske evolve its digital offering to better engage and retain users aged 18 to 30?
Thereby reaching an additional 5 million kroner in revenue within this segment by 2027.
We hope you're up for the challenge.
Good luck and thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Camilla, and I'm joined by Sophia, and we are here on behalf of the Case Developers team of CBS Case Competitions Organizing Committee.
We are beyond excited to see you all here today and truly appreciate your enthusiastic interest in this year's case competition. Over the past few months, our team, in close collaboration with Berlingske Media, has been responsible for refining the scope of this year's case, gathering all relevant data and insights, and of course, writing and rewriting every detail of the case. Today finally marks the end of my desktop drowning in files labeled final version, final version, and of course, the all caps 100% absolutely final version.
Not only does today mark the culmination of months of hard work from our side, it more importantly marks the culmination of an incredible journey for 3 finalist teams, who we have the honor of welcoming to the stage this evening. All 3 teams have poured their energy and expertise into this 24-hour case, tackling it with creativity, grit, and probably also a lot of caffeine.
Now, before diving into their presentations, we figured that it would be beneficial to just give you a brief overview of the case that we've developed for this year's case competition.
As you have probably heard by now, our case company is Berlingske Media, one of Denmark's most renowned media companies, with a legacy that spans over 4 centuries. The media landscape is ever evolving, and we live in a world where news is available at our fingertips, delivered in bite-sized, visually rich formats across social media and different digital platforms.
Younger audiences in particular are driving this change, shifting their media consumption to on-demand, highly personalized formats that prioritizes speed and relevance over longer traditional formats. In light of this, we asked participants to envision how Berlingske could reimagine its digital approach in order to better engage this younger audience, specifically Danish young adults aged between 18 to 30.
And on that note, to delve even further into the case question and the real-world context surrounding this challenge, we would like to welcome to the stage Lisbeth Røe Jensen, Chief Commercial Officer of Berlingske Media, and Tom Jensen, Editor-in-Chief of Berlingske.
Is it on? Yes, it is. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. It's a great honor for me. I studied at CBS myself. I was never ambitious enough to do the case competition, so I'm even more grateful to be here this evening, being the case, together with Tom. As it was just said, I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Berlingske Media. It's my job to secure the revenue to pay for the independent journalism that Tom's Berlingske does. And let me tell you, it's not an easy task. We are challenged. We are challenged by big state media companies who don't need to worry about having a business model. We are challenged by big tech companies who have financial resources and compliance departments at a size that we will never be able to match. And that's why I am really happy that you are here tonight, young people, because our biggest challenge is how to get our new users to value the free press as a part of our democracy and value it enough to want to pay for the news that we need to do to bring home the revenue to keep being the free press. You have spent your valuable time solving our problem in this case, but we would say it's not only our problem. It's a solution, hopefully, that can help secure the free press and the democracy in the long run. And that's why we are more grateful, not just on our own behalf, but on behalf of democracy. Next to me you have Tom Jensen, and we look forward to seeing the presentations tonight. I'm certain that no matter what and how, we will leave this room both inspired and wiser. Tom?
Why is a free, independent, and trustworthy press important? Why is it perhaps more crucial than ever before? The answer lies exactly in the challenges Lisbeth just described. Free, independent publishers are no longer gatekeepers of information in our society. That's a fundamentally good thing. Everyone now has a voice, a public voice. But at the same time, our democracies are under pressure from loads of information you cannot trust. Delivered by people or bots nobody can identify. Multiplied in all directions by the tech companies, which puts the business model of free media under pressure. Nobody should wish for a future where most information in our democracy is monopolized by powerful social media platforms and state media giants. That's why we reach out to you, to your generation, who will soon become the ones leading the businesses, organizations, and political positions in our society and democracy, and will be citizens of our democracy for years to come. To help us make sure that free and reliable journalism will also be part of your future. And thank you for participating, because you deserve that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisbeth and Tom, for those valuable insights. I think I can speak for all participants when I say that this case presented a unique, complex, and most of all, fascinating challenge to tackle.
And speaking of challenges, we most certainly had our own last week when we had to narrow down on all of the incredible, high-quality submissions. After a lot of deliberation, 3 teams eventually emerged as the top contenders, going just above and beyond in impressing us with their innovative solutions, their deep understanding of media trends, and their vision for Berlingskes future in the digital era.
Today, you will first be listening to Wolves of Via Sarfatti, joining us from Milan, Italy. Then, you will listen to Team Crak from Toronto, Canada. And lastly, Edge Consulting from Brisbane, Australia. I think it's safe to say that all 3 teams are beyond excited to be here today. And we have actually captured the moment when they discovered that they made it into the finals. Please take a look.
Hello, you guys, can you hear us?
You're muted, I think. Hello, yes, we can hear.
So you guys did a really good job, made a real good effort. We are impressed with what you did, but unfortunately you have to do some more work on the stuff you have done so far. So we'll see you next week in Copenhagen.
Thank you.
I was fully ready for those questions. I'm glad we're not doing another round.
Thank you. Oh wow, I was not expecting that at all.
The excitement from each team is contagious, and we hope that you're as excited as they are. If you do have any lingering questions throughout their presentations, we really encourage you to just ask away. All you have to do is to scan the QR code on the flyer that you were given when you came in, or you can go onto Slido and write #global. I will repeat, that is Slido, SLIDO.com, and then you do #global, GLOBAL. Then once you get onto the platform, you can either write your own questions or you can vote for other people's questions, and then Camilla and I will be sure to get through as many as we possibly can during the audience Q&A.
Sophia, I don't know about you, but I can't wait any longer. Let's get on with what we're really here to see, our finalist.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's welcome the first finalists to the stage. Joining us from Italy, please give a warm round of applause to Wolves You will now have 10 minutes to present your solution, followed by a 10-minute Q&A from the jury members, and then we will proceed with a 5-minute Q&A from the audience. The timekeeper, who sat just over there, will inform you with a sheet of paper when you have 5 minutes remaining, 1 minute remaining, as well as when your time is up for both the presentations and the Q&A. We will have to cut you off if you exceed this time. Best of luck, and the time will start once you begin speaking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When I was in primary school, I was given a task. Whenever I found something interesting on the headlines, I would cut it out and paste it on my notebook. The next day, I bring it to school and share it with my class. But now, times have changed. I no longer read a newspaper anymore. But instead, I just come across news on social media, where I could easily share it and save it. You see, I still wanted news from a reputable source. And that's why Berlingske must evolve its digital offerings to better tailor to the needs of the young Danes. Good afternoon, judges. My name is Justin, and I'm joined by my colleagues Mukta Holm, Armel, and Karin today. In our presentation, we would like to talk about the gap between what Berlingske has to offer today and what young Danes actually want. We asked the question of how we could evolve Berlingske offerings to better tailor to the needs. And with our recommendation, Berlingske App 2.0 will hope to generate extra revenue and bring in new subscribers to Berlingske. Let's start off with understanding the situation. We identified 4 key strengths of Berlingske, which we believe it must leverage in order to stay competitive. I'd like to draw attention to the second one, quality journalism, in which Berlingske is well known for its independent and trustworthy news. At the same time, Berlingske is also digital ready. It undergone a digital transformation to become digital first, meaning that its readers are also receptive to new changes. However, we're seeing a decline in young adult readership. Now, only 8% of Berlingske users are between the ages of 18 to 30 years old. To understand why, we looked into what young Danes look for in news. I'd like you all to meet Anna. She's a 22-year-old student living in Copenhagen. And Anna reads news for 2 categories of needs. The first category is the inward needs, in which we call me. This category consists of learning and entertainment. With this, Anna bridges this to the other category of needs, in which we call outward needs. Here, Anna uses news as a form of connection with her friends and family, as well as for daily social. However, these are exactly the 3 roadblocks that we've identified when we are looking at Anna's journey with Berlingske. For instance, in terms of learning, there is no systematic way for Anna to visualize her own learnings or look at articles she's read. For entertainment, reading the news feels too much like a chore right now. And for connection, Berlingske News is disconnected with Anna's current social circle, meaning that it's hard for her to stay subscribed. And that's why we looked at some trends shaping the industry currently. The first trend we looked at is gamification on news sites. Consider the example of Crak. Crak is a knowledge tracker that gives you a score on different topics that you've read and nudges users to read more articles. They've seen a 50% engagement increase after this is being used. The second form is short-form content, both text and video, with an example being Espresso by The Economist. We also considered other trends, such as using AI to generate news or turning to social media, but we believe that these does not directly align with what Berlingske has to offer. And now, I will let my colleague Armel talk about our recommendation.
Now introducing Berlingske App 2.0. We believe that through optimizing the current app, we can bridge the gap between young adult Danish needs as well as Berlingske offerings. We will make 3 main changes to the app. Number 1, we will develop a new feature called My News World. Number 2, we want to allow readers to feel like they become part of a larger community. And number 3, we want to allow them to browse the latest news in the most effective manner. But why did we choose to target the application? Well, we found that 95% of young adults actually access their news through their smartphones. Therefore, we believe that by fixing the problem at the source and at the primary touch points with these young adults will be the most effective manner. Now let's take a deeper look at the first feature, My News World. This is a gamified feature that will be now available on the Optimized app. Imagine you are currently playing a board game in which the goal is to unlock and obtain as many new territories as possible. Similarly, in this feature, the territories represent different content areas or topics such that the articles currently highlight between business, opinion, society, and culture. And the more articles you read within each content area, the more your territories will expand. Now, if you take a look at the mock-up on your left of the screen, you will see that the larger territories represents the preference of these readers. Therefore, through this feature, they'd be able to visualize their preferences and also have a look at the areas and content areas that they don't typically seek or read. For example, in my case, as a business student, I tend to seek out a lot of business articles, and I overlook, let's say, the opinion articles. But on my map, I'd be able to see a big, large territory for business and a smaller territory for opinion, drawing me and intriguing me to want to go read the opinion. So I'd press on the territory, and I'd have a list of opinion articles, and I'd be able to read more and expand that territory. Therefore, we believe that Berlingske can offer this feature to allow readers to take ownership of their news world and diversify their learnings past their own preferences. Lastly, we will be able to share and connect this map with your friends, comparing each other's preferences, as well as inciting a friendly competition to see who can have the biggest map and read the most articles. How are we going to develop this game, though? We believe that if we can outsource it to a local Danish development studio, Gamers, we'd be able to leverage their trusted expertise in creating gamified games to enhance customer experience. We estimated the cost to be about 900,000 Danish kroner, and it would take about 4 to 6 months to develop. Now passing it on to Corinne to highlight the next features.
Thanks, Armel. Now let's come to the second B, become part of the community. So through our research, we find that actually social media is such a powerful tool that we can use. For example, we can see the successful case from Spotify Rap, and this actually presents a unique opportunity for Berlingske to tap in. As research shows that 87% of users aged from 80 to 30 using social media daily, and Berlingske can actually tap into this market by introducing a new feature, Your Monthly Rewind. But before I continue, I want you to imagine you come across this very interesting article and you would love to share with your friends. And Your Monthly Rewind can exactly do that, and in a more engaging way. By tracking user reading activity, highlighting personal favorite trends and topic and reading time, by the end of each month, they can post this insight on social media, bringing a connection with their friends as well. And with that, we believe it can not only boost the engagement and attention, and more importantly, allow open discussion among young adults that can further promote democracy, one of the mission of Berlingske Media. Now, let's have a look of the last B, browse the latest news. We identified the need of Berlingske to improve the current app offering. And with the research showing that users aged from 80 to 30 showing clear and strong preference for mobile optimized content, we will have two features introduced in response to that. Number one is Berlingske Now, which is integrate the short form content from our Instagram right now to the app to fit the young adult preference for easy digestible format. Number two, Daily Wrap, which is a 5-minute recap of all major headlines of the day to provide this quick and easy update. So with that, we want to tie everything together with this redesigned navigation bar so that we can not only combat information overload, but more importantly, providing all-in-one together, providing easier access and convenience for our user. Now let's revisit the journey of Anna. So after she explores her interests building My News World, she can discover tailored content that aligns with her interests, tackling the first roadblock of learning. Moving on, she stayed informed with quick, digestible content like Berlingske Now and Daily Wrap, tackling the second roadblock of entertainment. Last but not least, she shared the monthly rewind and My News World with her friends, staying connected with the community and building a sense of belongingness, tackling the third roadblock, as just mentioned, community. And with that, Anna become a loyal consumer, being continued to subscribe and constantly engage with Berlingske Media. Now I'm going to pass it on to Mokhtar to see the implementation.
Thank you, Corinne. Now, how to make Berlingske app 2.0 a reality? First, we'd like to leverage the internal IT capabilities of Berlingske Media to start developing the new navigation interface, inculcating a short-form content of Daily Wrap, as well as Berlingske Now into the app. Moreover, concurrently, we would like you to start developing the News World application in partnership with gamers, with eventual rollout next year. We've also highlighted certain key risks, which I would love to take care of in the Q&A. Looking at the financial impacts, over a 3-year period, we project an investment of 7.5 million krona, with 5,500 new users being added by 2027 in the 18 to 30-year-old segment, as well as generating 5.5 million krona in additional revenue. Now, with Berlingske App 2.0, young Danish readers, such as Anna, will be able to engage with news in a more meaningful and impactful way, while also making it a social experience. Thank you, and now I open up the floor to questions.
Thank you very much for your presentations. We'll now move directly on to the Q&A from the juries. If Tom or Lisbeth, one of you could start us off, that would be great.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Your project cost evaluation, does that include the cost of marketing this new product after it has been realized?
Yes, the 900,000 krona cost is only for the game development part of it. If you could switch to the next slide, we've considered the marketing costs as well as implementation costs moving forward. However, due to the very nature of it being put into the app that Berlingske already offers, and it being cross-referenced throughout the media that Berlingske Media puts out, we presume that is the main channel that we will use to promote and market these new features to existing users, but also to new users. So the 7.5 million krona cost estimate includes marketing as well.
Also, a big thanks from me. I love your news world, and I would love to start using it tomorrow, so we'll have to speak about that time. I think it's a great way of expanding people's news world, but still letting Tom's journalism define the room that you are in. So that's very interesting. I wondered if you could tell me a little bit more about how you analyzed Anna's news needs. So how do you know what Anna needs?
So let me first turn to the slide. So for us, we thought, as Anna is obviously she is part of the Danish population, but we also thought about ourselves because we're exactly the target population of 18 to 30 years old. When we first approached the case, we talked among ourselves and understood our habit of reading the news and what we actually look for in news. And a conclusion that we got, and that's also what we tried to put it out on Anna's profile, is that we not only read news for knowing what's important to know. Basically, we don't only learn about the urgency, but we also read the news for things that are entertaining and also fun to read. And because we want that element to be able to not only entertain ourselves, but also spread in a more social way. And I think that is the key message that we believe that Anna is like representative of the Danish population, and also something that we want to put into our recommendation to add in that social element that currently Berlingske is, I would say, lacking behind other forms of sources, such as social media. And by integrating Berlingske into social media platforms, like sharing on social media, we would be able to tackle this problem. Yes.
Thank you for a great presentation. I like the gamification you are circling around. I have a question about the content and the form, though. Have you discussed or considered if it's too far away from each other, putting the gamification on the content that is there, that are aiming for an older target group? So would that differ too much, or did you have that conversation?
Yeah, just to make sure I understand the question, so making sure that it doesn't devalue what they currently offer and that Gamify doesn't push away the older audience. Okay, yeah, that's a great question. That's actually something that we thought of because we didn't want to obviously push away the core customer group that's currently reading the media. And so we believe that through this way, it's it increases the accessibility to the news. It doesn't change the way that they read it. It just increases their way to be informed of new articles that they wouldn't necessarily seek out themselves. And therefore, we believe that this would also be a great way for older people to also look at their news, because they have preferences also that they might not be aware of. And they could be overlooking maybe, let's say, parts of society articles or business articles. And in this map, they'd be able to see, oh, I only focus on culture. Let me also engage more with the business side. And they have access to all the wide variety of business articles there as well. So we're not altering the content or the way we're delivering it. We're just increasing, I would say, actually the accessibility to a much wide variety of content that they might not see right away when they just open their news app. Right now, it's much more tailored and once again offers them a much more diverse platter of news that they wouldn't see currently.
Thanks a lot for the excellent presentation. So one thing is coming up with the features, another thing is attracting the audience to the platform. This is an own channel, so how do you propose to do that?
Like attracting to the new features?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So kind of what my colleague Corinne said earlier, the monthly rewind, we were thinking that as kind of a start point, right? So being able to share, let's say like we have a rewind of what the articles we currently read, like what are our top content areas, being able to share that on social media and have our friends look at that network and see, oh, this is very interesting, you know, my friend, it's kind of like Spotify Wrapped concept, right? Being attracted to that as well and them wanting to see what they have. And then they will then be attracted to the app and be onboarded to those services. And we kind of hope that through this word of mouth and social media, there's such the strong power of social media that we see nowadays, just to be able to share these relevant facts to one another. We believe that and we hope that this will be a strong way to attract a larger community.
Yes, to adding on Armel, we really want to use social media as a tool and a channel to bring people to Berlingsk, especially the app that we think has a lot of potential. So it's just to add on to that.
Thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. Just a quick question on your analysis part. What data or trends did you look into to get to the conclusion that an app would be the right for this audience?
So I could start off with. So first of all, we looked at this situation where people actually access the news. And the answer is actually not on news apps that's like the most popular. Instead, even for us or people that we read on reports such as one from Reuters, indicated that people now turn to social media for news. The reason is because the social media is integrating news with their social life, meaning that they don't need to open a separate app to access news, but the news is integrated into what they already see on their feed. And that is the part where they find the news is very accessible. And for us, we don't want them to turn away from the mobile phone or say use a laptop or other device to access the news. And that's why we say we should focus on the application. And this is the statistics that we found, that 95% of the young adults that we're looking at actually already are using their phones to access news, meaning that it makes a lot of sense for us to focus more on the application to make it more attractive. Yes.
Yeah, I guess to add on a little bit, from our research, we actually did know that Berlingsk did offer like a 50% off for subscription for young adults. But so we actually found that money is actually not the biggest incentive. Therefore, we find that maybe personalization, gamification is the key or incentive to draw them come to Berlingsk, come to our app. So to add on that, thank you.
Good. I'm definitely looking forward to getting that app, especially with positive cash flow in year 2 and a good business case in year 3. I think that's a no-brainer when I look at Berlingske. One of the assumptions is that, as I remember, that the turnover in subscription, you know, there's 67% stays on board. How have you come to this assumption? Have you been looking at other media? So where did that come from?
Yes, we looked at reports of legacy media and what their churn rate is. So this is a pretty conservative estimate of 67%, which we hope through this app can increase. The churn rate can decrease and the retention rate can increase, because by engaging and providing value to your core user group is what will keep them on. You already offer a 1 krona subscription for the first month, but as Corinne said, the cost of the subscription is not what is the barrier. The barrier itself is keeping people engaged and having them come back to the app over and over again. So by introducing these features of gamification, short-form content, and looking at these trends that are emerging within social media and news media outlets is how legacy media can find a future within this segment. So a 67% retention rate is what is the standard in the market. So, but we want to increase that further down the line.
So, like everybody else, extremely good presentation. For some companies, 4 things at the same time can be quite a lot. So if you were to pick one, which one would it be and why?
I would like to start off, and my colleagues can add. First of all, we want to focus on simple, easy wins that Berlingske Media can overtake with their current capabilities. That includes an app overhaul, as well as inculcation of media that they already produced into a more user-friendly format. So that's one thing, but then I think the gamification part of it, though it entails a large investment, would be a pioneering move for Berlingske Media to undertake in this news atmosphere.
Yeah, I would agree with Muktaha, where we want to, oh, time's up, okay. Yeah.
Let's hear what they have to say.
Yes, first question. How do you incentivize users to actually use the Berlingske app? Won't it be easier for users to just continue using their usual social media apps?
So when we are considering the users on the news app, there's no single type of user. Like each user has their own preferences. There's a wide range. Some are more engaged, some are more casual readers, as I'll say. So our goal is to target the ones who are most attached to Berlingske. They read it every single day. They're loyal to the company. And those are the people that will help bring out the word, because once they start using this kind of new feature, they will be able to spread it out. They will say, oh, this is actually a great thing. I will share it on social media. And their friends, who may be the casual readers or who may even not be subscribed to Berlingske, would look at this and say, oh, I'm interested in this. I want to see what my news world looks like. And they will be attached and engaged to try out this feature at least once. And starting from here, we want to engage more and more people using this kind of network effect.
This seems like a great offering to existing readers. How will you ensure bringing new readers onto the app?
Yeah, so that kind of adds on to what Justin just mentioned, bringing new readers. We hope that that network effect that social media is so strong and very powerful at will be able to work and allow, if my friend currently reads Berlingske and I don't, I'd be able to see on her Instagram story, let's say her Snapchat story, what she currently reads. And kind of what Justin mentioned, I'm also attracted in learning what my news media is, because first, let's go back to Spotify rap, for example. I did not know that, let's say country music was my #1 listened genre. And so it kind of goes back to that same with article and news reading. I didn't know that business was my #1 news and content area as well. And so we believe that with that networked effect and using the power of social media, which we are already on very much every day, me including myself, and so we'd be able to influence one another, but also create that community and that discussion that is very important when it comes to news topics.
Yeah, so adding on a little bit with Armel, I guess we guys can just imagine, when you scroll your Instagram and see your friends posting the monthly one from Spotify, do you want to check out yours as well? So I guess this is the channel for bringing people up to our platform, Berlingske as well.
Yeah, and not just social media. We looked at the case of Morning Brew, which grew from a few hundred subscribers to a multi-billion-dollar company within the span of a few years. And they used multi-channel marketing, which includes A, social media, of course, but B, also sponsoring YouTube videos, which a lot of people go to for news. That allowed them to get a lot of signups early on. And since Berlingske Media already offers very good price points, we can reach out to social media influencers and those who make videos on certain topics within the Danish media atmosphere to help promote the new Berlingske Media apps, which can help people to onboard and have new subscriptions rather than just finding it from my friend who reads Berlingske Media.
Berlingske is not free today. How will you convince new users, often students with budget constraints, to pay for the subscription?
I think, first of all, would be the inherent attractiveness of the recommendation or the new offering, because currently there's a very strong thing that separates Berlingske from other news medias, except we understand the fact that it really upholds independence and trustworthiness. But with the inherent attractiveness of the game, the new gamified elements, as well as the new sharing options, we hope to attract people to try subscribing with only like a very low cost per month, which, as we mentioned again, we believe that the cost is not the biggest barrier to subscribing, but rather the inherent attractiveness of the products. Yeah.
Could you walk us through the pricing model of your proposal? Also, will this be part of all subscription categories currently offered by Berlingske?
Yes, of course. So these new features are not an additional add-on, though they can be in a step-ladder system of subscriptions. However, initially we would like to introduce it to those who already have a subscription. I took an average of 1,000 krone for subscription because 18 to 30-year-olds get 50% discount. Therefore, 1,000 krone per year of subscription because there's different tier segments, which all digital, physical, and additional features as well. The middle price segment, which adds both a podcast, news media, in digital newspaper, as well as digital subscription, is the one that this features will be most available on. However, there's a long process of iteration and rollout that we've inculcated into the timeline, which would ensure that you are able to receive how people are perceiving your new additions and using those new features.
All right, I'm going to have to cut you off. Thank you so much, and thank you again for such an incredible presentation.
Thank you.
You may now exit the stage. Congratulations.
Wow. What a way to kick off this evening. Thank you all for your great energy and questions. Please keep them coming. Scan the QR code and ask away. Let's keep this momentum as we welcome our next finalist. Without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Team Crak.
One more time.
Welcome to the stage. You will now have 10 minutes to present your solution, followed by a 10-minute Q&A from the jury, and lastly, 5-minute Q&A from the audience. You will get a reminder from the timekeeper sitting right over here, who will raise a sheet of paper when you have 5 minutes remaining, 1 minute remaining, and also when the time is up, for both your presentation and the Q&A. And we will have to cut you off when the time is up. Best of luck. The time will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Traditional news isn't dying. Instead, it's evolving. Hi, everyone. My name is Kareem, and I'm joined by Chloe, Raghib, and Amanda. And today we want to walk you through how Berlingske can be the company to lead that change. We started off with a question of how can Berlingske evolve its digital offering to better engage and retain users aged 18 to 30. And with your criteria and our 5 key success principles, we've curated a 2-part solution. Dagens Trifecta, a daily AI-generated podcast, and Berlingske Community, a space to cultivate intellectual discussions around its media. But before we get any further, I'd like to pass it on to Chloe to walk you through how we got that inside scoop.
So to crack the code on how to connect with young people, we really dove into their news habits. We found that it's not that they're ignoring the news, they're just consuming it in fresh and unexpected ways. Social media, as we know, has become the top avenue for news, but people aren't actively seeking it out. Instead, it's intercepting their feeds and only capturing their attention if it's short and engaging. Videos over even just 1 minute can feel overwhelming. And it's not just about the facts anymore. Young people want a voice in the conversation, and so they're posting comments, sharing their opinions, and even making their own content about it. Beyond social media, daily news podcasts are exploding in popularity across the world, and in the US, the most popular one has over 4 million listeners every single morning, and even in Denmark, DR's Genstart has over 450,000 listeners. So with young people really redefining news consumption, we set out to discover what's driving the success of these new, non-traditional methods. And we boiled down our insights into 5 key principles. First, news has to be easily digestible. 44% of the Danish population prefers short-form content, and they care that news is delivered in an enjoyable way. Secondly, curation is key. All the top digital tools and platforms are algorithm-based, meaning that personalization is a baseline expectation. Third, news has to be community-driven. Young people are active consumers of news, and 76% of them are involved in an online community. Fourth, news has to be integrated seamlessly into people's daily routines. And finally, low-cost access is imperative, with most young people getting their news from free or inexpensive sources. And so Berlingske isn't currently able to attract many of these young people because they fall short on these 5 principles. At the same time, its core value proposition is something that young people still want. They want timely, reliable news, and it's shown because a lot of them are increasingly concerned about news that could be misinformation or doesn't come from an independent source. And Berlingske has an opportunity to fill that need. However, it can't just do the 5 principles the way that social media or short-form content are doing them. It needs to introduce something new to the news space to really pull in users from the sources they're currently using. And to do that, it needs an industry-disrupting, innovative approach.
And with that, I'd love to introduce Dagens Trifecta. So what exactly is it? Well, using 3 daily Berlingske articles, we can harness the power of AI to curate and create the perfect podcast to start each morning. Picture this. You wake up in the morning to a notification letting you know that your tailored podcast is ready, seamlessly fitting into your daily routine. And so what does this look like for first-time users? Well, it's as simple as logging into the app, inputting preferences such as podcast length or topics of interest, and you're ready to go. Your personalized news experience begins. But most importantly, this solution seamlessly integrates into Berlingske's current pricing structure, where paid users get podcasts curated from all available articles that day, enhancing the value of their subscriptions, and free users get podcasts curated only from free articles with ad interruptions between each segment. And so now that we've seen how it works, what it is, how does it actually work? Well, it's simple. At the heart of Dagens Trifecta is Notebook LM, a cutting-edge tool that allows us to turn any Berlingske article into an engaging audio format. All of this in a quick, cost-effective, and realistic manner. But more importantly, with Notebook LM's closed-loop data system, this means that all podcasts are curated only from the content and information within these articles, staying true to our roots of high-quality, reliable, and independent journalism. And to take it one step further, we've also decided to hit that curation aspect with an in-house recommendation algorithm. By taking first-time user inputs such as length and time, as well as in optional ratings as seen on the screen, we can then use the user interactions within the app to continue to curate that perfect podcast to start each morning. And how do we know that this actually works? Well, as you can see on the right, we have actually taken a real Berlingske article about the Red-Green Alliance, decided to turn it into that engaging podcast format, and provided a transcript right on screen. And it sounds just like 2 people engaging in a discussion. And now that we know how we're going to deliver news to the younger generation in an engaging audio format, let's talk about how we're going to hit that community principle that we haven't yet touched upon.
Thank you for the introduction, Kareem. Now, I'm only 19 years old. So personally, I like getting my news from social media. However, I'm rarely ever just watching the video. Rather, I'm scrolling through the comments section. I'm looking for thoughts and opinions. I'm looking for a discussion. Now, we all know that social media is not the best source for your news, but what do they have that we're missing? One word: community. How can Berlingske integrate an intellectual discussion around their news? Ladies, gentlemen, judges, and audience, here is our vision. Now, users can add their friends to Berlingske community, where they can see their activity, like what they're interested in or what they're reading. You and your friends can comment on articles and have an intellectual discussion that betters your learning. Did you enjoy listening to your podcast? Share with your friends with Berlingske community. Every day you share and listen to your podcast, you continue your streak on the app. And we can take this one step further and integrate Berlinski into every user's daily routine with their home screen, with features like Apple widgets on the screen behind me. Now, before we go any further, we need to address the fact that the 18 to 30-year-old age group is very different with their preferences. And how do we know that our solution hits all of them? With our leverage technologies, users can change the tone or length of their podcast to fit their wants. Not only this, but we also have options for both paid and free users. Now we've laid out our solution. Let me pass it off to Chloe to prove its success.
So I presented to you 5 key principles that are the most important things for captivating the younger generation. Our solution hits all 5 of them while staying true to Berlinski and providing timely, reliable news from an independent free press. But beyond this, it gives Berlinski the opportunity to introduce something new to the news space, effectively allowing it to pull in users from the other sources of news they're currently consuming. So clearly, we have a great product. How are we going to get it out there?
That's a great question, Chloe. And we really see Dagens Trifecta and Berlinski community being ingrained into young people's daily commutes, their routines, and really their lives. And that is why we strategically designed our go-to-market and marketing strategy, news that speaks to you, to really reach young people where they are. This looks like having our advertisements where people park their bikes, at major business intersections where they work, and also on public transport while they commute. Additionally, we know that over 44% of our target audience are students. So we really want to leverage the existing partnerships that we have with institutions like CBS so we can easily convert students due to the free subscriptions that they have funded by their universities. Now, we also know that the successful launch and implementation of our solution is top of mind for Berlinski, which is why we will be implementing a test and learn approach. For the development of our products, this looks like starting off with a beta release before slowly rolling out these offerings for a full release in 2027. Then for our go-to-market, this looks like starting in our universities and then iterating on our marketing materials before launching them more broadly. Another really great feature of our solution is that it sets up Berlinski Media as a parent company to revolutionize all of their content as well. Imagine a daily curated finance podcast through Euroinvestor. Now, while we've thoroughly thought out our solution and implementation, any good solution comes with a little bit of a risk. And one key risk that we'd like to highlight is a lack of trust in AI tools. However, this is thoroughly mitigated by making sure that in every step, we're communicating NotebookLM's data security measures, as well as the strong closed-loop model that Karim was talking about earlier. Now, for a quick look into the quantitative impact of this, you define success as an incremental $5 million in revenue by 2027. We surpassed this by 2.5 million to reach 7.5 million in incremental revenue by 2027. We're also onboarding over 12,000 new users that are young adults, with over 4,000 of these becoming subscribers. And in addition to this, we're increasing our average revenue per user by over 30%, through our new stream of revenue from the podcast ads and increasing subscriptions. So overall, through Dagens Trifecta, as well as Berlinski community, we're able to reach young people where they are and meet those 5 principles that Chloe laid out. That's why we are so excited for Berlinski's new revolutionary ways of reaching young people to be the next big headline. Thank you so much for your time. We'd like to open the floor to any questions.
Thank you very much. We will move on to the jury Q&A. Over to you, Lisbeth.
Thank you, and thanks again for a great presentation. I especially love that you had a marketing plan already sketched out. I love the news that speaks to you. It's easily translatable to Danish, so expect to see that soon. Did you, because the short form thing is an obvious win for us, I think, because we have a lot of long form journalism. Did you at any point consider also video, or did you only focus on audio?
I think the reason that we focused mainly on audio is because of this technology that we're using, which allows us to transform your articles into the podcast form. Whereas if we don't use this technology, which turns it into a podcast form, the video aspect is very hard to replicate in a curated fashion every single morning, 3 articles per user per day. And so that's why we focused on the audio format. And additionally, AI-generated videos are often not well received by consumers, and so that's why we focused on the podcast form.
Thank you very much for a great presentation. Most podcast formats in the Danish market is free now. Have you spent time on working through what should drive young people to specifically this podcast behind a paywall?
Yeah, so happy to answer that. I think there's really 2 parts that I'll look at it. First, in terms of kind of the paid or the free part, and the second more so of the young people. In terms of the free solution, we're offering this podcast to everyone. For free users, it just means 3 articles turned into a podcast that were available for free on Berlingske already. And for paid users, they just don't get the ad interruptions between those 3 articles in that podcast format. As for how we get young users, really the main idea here is we're changing the way that users get the news information, right? Users don't really expect to be searching for news themselves. They don't expect to kind of go on these news websites, be like, oh, I want to read that. Instead, they're seeing it they're being intercepted by these news companies on their social platforms. Like Instagram, they're scrolling and news comes up. So with our notification that allows these users to know that we've created the perfect podcast to start their morning, we're actually intercepting them at the start of their day, and they can simply plug in their headphones, listen to their podcast on their way to school, to work, or whatever free time they might want to use it in.
I love the attention to detail in your presentation. The visuals were really strong, like that you chose the font very wisely. Yeah. I was wondering, did you consider the vulnerability on Berlingske relying on Notebook as a partner instead of having their own AI solution?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that in terms of being vulnerable, the great thing about Notebook LM is that this is their business model that they're looking to put out. They're looking to have this to be a service, and it's also the most cost-effective way to implement this without having to build it in-house. If this is something we decide we want to do, it is possible to build it in-house. It will just be a lot more costly. And working with Notebook LM, they're really the experts in this field, and we saw that that was the best course of action.
Yeah, thank you very much. A lot of details to consume here. My question is around this engagement where you refer to TikTok and giving opinions and comments and giving this engagement, which I think is great. But it is on a Berlingske platform. So how do you make sure that fake news and things like that is not distributed on that platform?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'd love to take it. We want to make sure that first and foremost, we're following your guys' values of free press and freedom of speech with Berlingske. So we never want to take away someone's ability to comment something. However, we want to make sure that with the community feature, we're being very clear that the comments you're seeing on articles are that of your friends and your family in real life. So the circle you've added on the community, that's the content you're seeing, and we expect less charged opinions or fake news coming from the people closer in your life. Along with this, we have standard terms of service that will remove any hate speech or violent content.
Thank you for the presentation, very interesting. Could you please go back to the financials and just talk us through the implementation cost, the marketing cost, because you've thought a lot of it through, but just give us the highlight. This is
yes,
not
definitely.
the prettiest slide, so just the highlight, please.
Definitely. I think just to walk through, there's 3 main sources of costs. The first one being the partnership with Notebook LM. And the way we projected out that cost is looking at a similar company, 11 Labs, and they do it based on 1,000 words transcribed. So we took the average amount of articles and the average amount of words for each article. And then the next one is really looking at the app development. So integrating the new community feature, integrating the podcast into it, how much that will cost, and really the maintenance cost of keeping that up as we expand. And then the last one is really just looking at the marketing, cost for the bus stops, cost for advertising on campuses, and all of that. Happy to go into any details if you have specific questions.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue into what I was going to ask, because I'm not sure, it's difficult to get a fast glance at this, but personnel costs, doesn't look like it's factored in here. But that aside, which people? So Tom and crew are very excited. They want to hire you to do this. Who are the 3 people that you want to associate to this project to make it real?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think while we understand that there's kind of people that are driving this, we think there's 2 main parts that make it very easily implementable, and you don't necessarily need any new additional employees. One, Notebook LM, on their current platform and their current plans, they plan to roll this out completely to businesses, and they also have integration personnel that allow you to seamlessly integrate it within your current offerings and actually train your employees on how to use it effectively. So we don't see an additional personnel, except we do expect kind of the chief technical officers to really guide the implementation, and then more so the editor-in-chief in terms of how you want the tone to be portrayed, how you want this kind of software itself to really be viewed and kind of spew out these articles and podcasts into the daily media. Hopefully that answers your question.
More or less, but so does that mean that you think there should be an editorial layer, quality assuring the journalism part of it, or what do you envision?
So if you're talking about how do we know that, if I'm understanding your question correctly, is how do we know that these articles or these podcasts are coming directly from articles and no fake news? Yeah, so the good part about that closed loop system that we talked about earlier is that it means that Notebook LM only uses the information within the articles to actually create these transcripts and then turning it into podcasts. And one of their biggest features is when you are looking at these transcripts, if you do so please, and if you want to kind of do a sense check, maybe 1 in every 10, you can actually see where each part of the words comes from within their information source. So you can trace the information down to the primary source, and that way we're able to really kind of keep that journalistic integrity. So it's not adding any new information like you've seen with maybe ChatGPT. Instead, it's relying only on what we provide it with, which is going to be the Berlingske articles, or maybe primary information that you want to add as well.
I would like to just go into the ethics question a little bit more, because it would be a big step to let go of the control of the content when you present an AI-based podcast, because when it's out there, it's out there. So could you tell us a little bit more about your deliberations on that? What would it pose a potential ethics problem to us if we came out with, stories that became into a podcast which might interpret our story in a problematic way?
I think the first and foremost piece is that it's still taking articles written by Berlingske authors and using that content to transform it into the audio format. On the other side, it's possible to also train the AI to to transform your content the way that you want it to. So that's why in our implementation plan, we start with a beta release so that we can really see how the AI is transforming the content, and to see if we want to make any iterations on the back end to work with Notebook LM and be able to make it into the way that we actually want to portray the content to our consumers.
Yes, and if I may add on, really the main thing we're doing here is we're not changing the way that these articles are, we're not changing how these articles look. Instead, we're just changing the way that they're delivered, so the content stays exactly the same, which is why we really believe in keeping that journalistic integrity.
Okay. We have time for a very quick question.
To you, who told us a little bit about the community part, can you tell me whether you would expect the editors and journalists to participate in the notes section?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have no conditions saying that it must only be consumers of the media. Absolutely, editors can join in, and I don't believe our mock-up shows it here, but they'll have like a gold title, and they can also contribute to discussion. We want to let anyone get onto the platform and have this intellectual discussion that betters people's understanding of Berlingske media.
Thank you very much. The time is up. We will now move on to the audience Q&A.
How do you ensure diversity within the readership when your principal relies on an algorithm which might keep readers within their media bubble?
I think that goes back to what we previously discussed about the possibility to train the AI based on what we see in the beta release. So if we see that, for example, it's only recommending articles by a certain race, we're able to add another layer to the algorithm in order to make sure it contributes a diversity of thought in people's everyday consumption.
Have you tested whether this works in the Danish language? While English is relatively mature for a lot of AI voice tools, the pool is much smaller in Danish.
Yeah, so great question. We haven't really tested it in Danish because we don't understand Danish, so we thought we'd go straight to English. But we do believe that it is available in Danish, similarly to how you can use kind of any other AI platform in your native language. So based on our current understanding, you are able to do that in Danish. And if not, we believe that by the full release, they are going to make it available to all the customers they want to serve.
0.5 Danish kroner per word is actually quite expensive, considering news articles are at least a few hundred words long. How would you keep the costs in check?
Yeah, definitely. We have a slide where we projected it out, sort of even having at this worst case scenario that 0.5 Danish krone. And if you go to the appendix one, actually, with a maximum of over 250 articles a day, we still see that we're able to be profitable and surpass the incremental revenue and incremental profit guidelines that we had. But also in developing this partnership with Notebook LM, we see that we can likely bring this cost down as the biggest newspaper in Denmark and a really good opportunity for them to get their foot into the space. We see that we can negotiate that as well. But even if this is worst case, we saw that we were still able to be profitable.
And just to kind of clarify, it was 0.5 Danish kroner per 1,000 words. We just forgot to add that on the slide itself.
Are you not afraid of a more polarized media landscape if you, the user, are exposed to personalized news rather than your perspectives being challenged?
So even though you can personalize your preferences, at the end of the day, the podcast is being generated by Berlingskes platform. And so you're putting in your preferences for the tone that you choose out of the options that we give to you, as well as the length based on the options that we give to you. And so ultimately, Berlingske has the opportunity to really craft how these different options come to play. And we don't foresee that to be too big of an issue.
How did you know youngsters would be interested in sharing the news they are reading, which may be politically sensitive or rather private with peers?
Yeah, I'd love to take a chance at that question. So a big thing we want to establish here is the interest of young users to share their knowledge or opinion on a subject that is in the more intellectual lens. So for example, we have a case study of Letterboxd, where there are 13 million users, the majority of which are actually young adults, and the entire purpose of the platform is to share your opinion on a media, in this case being movies. The primary use of Letterboxd is to share an intellectual take that has your opinion, you even rate the movie, to your personal friend circle, and they've seen massive growth in countries like the US and Canada. We believe that there's a perfect market for a similar kind of platform for young adults in Denmark.
How can AI-powered podcast news platforms establish trust and prevent the spread of misinformation while delivering engaging and reliable content?
Yeah, I can quickly go again. And I think we've talked about this a little bit already, but it really goes back to Notebook LM has a lot of really strong data security measures that are in place, and also the closed loop model that Karim was talking about earlier. We really are only feeding it content that's written by Berlingske editors and journalists, so there's no other sources for them to create this false information from.
Okay, we are actually out of questions from the audience. If anyone is brave and wants to ask their own question, if not, if you guys have any last comments before you leave the stage.
No, just thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
Wow, what incredible presentations that we've had up to this point. We've got one final team joining us this evening. Just a friendly reminder to please keep scanning the QR code so we have a bunch of questions to ask during the audience Q&A. But without further ado, joining us from Brisbane, Australia, please give a warm round of applause to Edge Consulting. welcome to the stage. You will now have 10 minutes to present your solutions, followed by a 10-minute Q&A from the jury members, and finally a 5-minute Q&A from the audience. The timekeeper, who sat just over there, will notify you with a sheet of paper when you have 5 minutes remaining, 1 minute remaining, as well as when your time is up, and we will have to cut you off if you exceed this time. Best of luck, and the time will start once you begin speaking.
As a trailblazer of digital innovation with a profound legacy in Danish society, Berlingske must seize its digital momentum to engage young adults and continue to provide reliable, quality media. The answer is Berlingske Pulse, bridging the gap between trusted journalism and the fast-paced digital world. Good afternoon, I am Taylor, joined with Maya, Abby, and Shreya from Edge Consulting. You have asked us how you can evolve your digital offering to better engage 18 to 30-year-olds. Our analysis has identified the fundamental requirement for fast-paced, hyper-personalized audio-visual content. This is what will drive over 2,000 new monthly subscribers. Our solution is Berlingske Pulse, your personal journalist.
Berlingske is Denmark's leading newspaper and has earned its place as a trusted brand, and for good reason. You have a long-standing reputation of providing quality journalism to serve and engage diverse audiences effectively. But at present, only 8% of Berlingske users are between the ages of 18 to 30, showing a crucial demographic for securing Berlingske's ongoing legacy. Engaging this audience is crucial for securing Berlingske's future. But who exactly are we trying to reach? To understand this market further, let's take a look at the numbers. Research shows that 75% of Danes now get their news through social media, showing a preference for engaging content over traditional static formats. We know that Gen Zs will leave a website if it doesn't predict their preferences. Yet 62% of this generation are willing to pay for personalization. This presents an untapped revenue opportunity for Berlingske. We know that this generation want tailored, curated content that seamlessly fits young adults' fast-paced lifestyles. Berlingske must evolve to deliver credible, curated, and highly relevant news that meets these hyper-personalized expectations.
Berlingske has successfully navigated the digital landscape, building credibility with over 800,000 monthly visitors, creating convenient and accessible content, and experimenting with media formats. However, there is still further opportunity to further engage this under-30 market. And we see this opportunity in two key areas: personalization and monetization. So, how do we tackle this? Several options were considered, like the traditional forums and reels. However, these lack innovation, feasibility, and most importantly, over-reliance on social media would dilute Berlingske's credibility, given the prevalence of misinformation on these platforms. So, to address what under-30s truly care about, personalization, convenience, engagement, we're introducing a new way to revolutionize the digital experience through a personalized journalist.
We are so excited to introduce our solution, Berlingske Pulse, your personal journalist. Berlingske Pulse is a creative, unique, and efficient way for your users to engage with Berlingske. Your personalized journalist will be integrated end-to-end throughout the app and contains two key components: Pulse in 5 and Pulse Points. Pulse in 5 is a daily 5-minute video debriefing from your personal journalist on the top 5 news stories that you are interested in. Pulse Points is a seamless integration of your journalist throughout the app that allows you to gain quick insights into anything, anywhere, at any time. So let's delve into the first key component, Pulse 5. Take Emma. She's a 24-year-old Dane, and when she wakes up in the morning, she opens her Berlingske app, ready and excited for her Pulse in 5. She's greeted by her friendly journalist Carl, and he debriefs her on the top 5 news stories that she is interested in. As Emma enjoys science, politics, and the environment, this forms the basis of those top 5 news stories. She's informed on what matters most to her. This hyper-personalized solution is exactly what young people need. Utilizing this within just 5 minutes, Pulse 5 is able to keep young people informed and engaged on what matters most to them, thanks to Belinsky. So, Emma's had her daily Pulse 5, but she's kept informed and engaged throughout the entire day through Pulse Points. Utilizing voice-enabled technology, she's able to ask her personalized journalist anything, no matter where she is in the app. Carl is able to update her on breaking news stories or find her the most relevant articles. He's also able to provide instant insights. If Emma doesn't have the time to read an article or doesn't want to read an article, Carl is able to provide a bite-sized video summary of that article or delve into conversation regarding the topic. Belinsky Pulse is truly going to revolutionize the way that young people consume media.
The technology exists, is proven, and ready to power Belinsky Pulse today. I'm more than happy to run through the intricacies of the technology during question time, but to give you a brief overview, Carl was created by leveraging the connection between Leonardo AI, DID, and OpenAI, all with proven and successful industry applications. With data privacy at the core of our technology stack, our model is fed only Belinsky content and user preferences that have been extracted from our user onboarding form. But not only is this technically feasible, we've seen success across multiple different industries of hyper-personalization and digital humans. Unique implemented a digital human that increased website traffic by 350%. The Times implemented a hyper-personalized newsletter that reduced subscription cancellation by 49%. To engage and retain young adults, Belinsky must leverage this technology. So, how can we also drive adoption and awareness of this technology? We must pulse beyond. You have identified that 50% of students are employed and 40% are students, And to capture these students, what we can do is actually upgrade current university subscriptions to include Belinsky Pulse. But how can we capture this additional 50%? We have identified gyms as the most feasible partnership for Belinsky. Gyms are a place of community for young people. Additionally, it's also a place where a significant amount of media is being consumed. We must also note that gyms are starting to move towards holistic wellness, including mental sharpness. We can also capture both segments by creating a monthly Wrapped, which is going to be shareable across multiple social media platforms, which will drive traffic to Belinsky's app.
So how can we measure this impact? These forecasts rely on a key measure, the increase in subscriber numbers. Our strategy will drive a net uplift of 2,100 monthly subscribers specific to the under 30 segment by 2027, which translates to 5.8 mil in revenue accretion by 2027 for this specific segment. Now, whilst our strategy has strong tailwinds, we've recognised and actively mitigated 4 key risks. Amongst these mitigants, there's 2 I'd like to draw your attention to. The first being the tools that we're engaging, Leonardo AI, DID, are tried and tested and have proven success in adjacent industries. Whilst secondly, the nature of the technical risks surrounding where our content is sourced from is directly addressed, given that our content is not AI generated, ensuring that we actively mitigate these risks.
To meet consumer demand expectations, the successful rollout of Belinsky Pulse must begin with efficient implementation in 2025. This includes enterprise contract negotiations, development, 2 pilot phases, and an iteration phase with launch scheduled for July 2025.
Belinsky Pulse is your personal journalist, bridging the gap between trusted journalism and the fast-paced digital world, ensuring Belinsky remains indispensable to future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We'll now move directly on to the jury Q&A. Tom and Lisbeth, if one of you could kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a very exciting presentation. You also talk about Gen Z consuming news in a new way. Maybe the same news, but consumed in a new way. Have you discussed how the presentation of this new way of consuming news to our readers would affect the readers that we already have that might consume news in a more traditional way?
Yep, so we've considered that, and that's why we've integrated it into the app. So we're already trying to touch on those users who are currently more digital focused and digital forward. So while we've seen and we've been focusing on that increase in personalization and digital movement in the young adults, we also saw in our research a strong movement from over 30s into the more personalized format, but also to incorporate the small number of people who aren't as digitally versed or do not want to become as digitally versed. We've included an opt-in and opt-out function. So if they decide they don't want to incorporate this into their app experience with Belinsky, they can always opt out.
Thank you for a really creative solution. It's very interesting. I love the way you combine it with health perspective, because obviously Tom and I think that it's part of your health to get a daily news dose. It's a fun way of integrating with the gym. When I'm at the gym, I watch Netflix. So I'm very interested in this solution, and I see the young people are doing TikTok. I think it looks from their thumb movements. Have you considered other use cases for what was his name, Carl? I mean, other ways of consuming while doing other things at the same time?
Yeah, so other than the gym, we have also considered different types of areas where young people often are consuming media. Often that's in their transport, but in partnership way, we did find the most effective way was those gym options, and that's sort of why we focused on that, because whilst they do consume it on transport a lot of the time, and often that's where they consume it, the gym is a area where they're just focusing on that digital consumption for about 60 minutes straight. So that's where you're going to get the biggest impact is through those gyms compared to other areas where they won't have as long of time focusing on the media.
Thanks for a good presentation. Could you go a little bit more into the monetization model through gyms and business schools and universities? How does it work? What do you expect them to want to pay for actually using the platform? I assume that's the gyms who are paying for their users getting it, right?
Yes, I'm happy to walk us through that. And so in terms of specifically for the university partnerships and the gym partnerships, the existing pricing model would then exactly translate through into that. The main key intention behind our partnerships is to drive awareness to streamline users into subscribers. And so the key nature of the model will be the customers will be essentially paying an additional fee on top of their additional gym membership subscription. And the nature of that is essentially the hurdle in terms of willingness to pay is easier to overcome when it's a marginal increase to the existing subscription to something else, like a gym membership, rather than having to foot the bill of a larger monthly payment for this particular market. And so the way it would work is an additional payment on top of their existing membership.
Thanks a lot for a great presentation. Can you help us go through the cost, the developing cost and plan for the app?
Yeah, absolutely. I can walk you through that. So in terms of the media, what we've actually looked at is that it's an existing SaaS model, so you won't actually be doing too much internal development. The primary development, I know that Belinsky does have an internal development team. It will primarily be communicating between your server environment and also these different SaaS applications. So you'll need to develop a small Python program that feeds the content from the front end to the back end as well. But what will actually be happening is, do you mind just flicking through to the tech for me? Thank you. But what will actually happen is that there is a back-end Python, but all of this exists already. So what we'll really be doing is just feeding what it already wants to have. So for example, Leonardo AI is taking a natural language description of a human and feeding that into Leonardo AI, and that's all that needs to be done. So in terms of internal development, it's really not significant, and in this day and age, we don't expect significant internal development on your team's part.
I'll have a go. Thank you for giving us a look under the hood when it came to other solutions that you explored. Now, if Tom and Lisbeth had been a little bit more aggressive on the demands and said they wanted 25 million Danish kroner instead, how would that have changed your prioritization of the different solutions?
Yeah, definitely. If you could flick through to those ones for me. Still, in terms of when we were considering it, it needed to be hyper-personalized. That is what people are looking for. So in terms of a censored forum or Reels, for example, it's still not providing that cutting edge that you're looking for. So we're looking for something that people are actually going to pay for. If we're looking at something where you're looking for a higher revenue, you're not going to get that from forums or Reels because that's already being offered through something like Reddit. You're not going to get people to pay for it. For Reels, people are getting that on Instagram as well, so you're not going to get people to pay for it either. In terms of anything else, virtual reality is something that has a higher ticket item, a higher ticket price, but there is a smaller amount of people that are willing to use it. So that is a consideration. If you're looking at getting that higher return, you're still not going to get that through virtual reality because of that. And the best thing about this personal journalist is that the investment in it, due to the technology already existing, is not significant. In comparison to a virtual reality forum, you may have to work with an internal developer that has that specialization in working with virtual reality.
I can go. Thank you so much. It was very interesting. Just a quick question on, as I understood, the audience will need to give their preferences in the onboarding form. Mm-hmm. You know the audience better than I do, given that you're part of it. How easy is it to get this audience to actually share information and to fill in a form as an entry? Is it a barrier or is it doable?
Just so I can confirm that I understand your question, you're asking how easy is it to get someone between the ages of 18 to 30 to fill out an onboarding form? In my experience also, in that age gap, it's not significant. We always know that to use any type of account, we do need to sign up, so we can understand that. And our onboarding form has 4 questions. We understand that to get hyper-personalization, we need to provide some form of detail. And that's why when you start to converse with 18 to 30-year-olds regarding data privacy and certain things like that, we're actually happy to let some of our data privacy go for that hyper-personalization. So that is not a concern because we know that the value they're going to get is so much more significant and so much more exponential. We want to know the news that we want to know. We don't want to be looking through sport news if we're not interested in that. So they will absolutely take that time to ensure they're being informed on what they want to be informed on.
There are different, schools on how to view AI and how legacy media will best use it. One school is that a way to differentiate yourself as a publishing house is to go in the direct opposite direction of AI by insisting on communicating human to human. Has that been part of your discussion?
Yeah, so that's specifically why we went this digital human and utilizing DID is because we recognize that that human-to-human connection is extremely important, and we sort of done that through two different ways. So in the back end, in the tech, it's why we're only utilizing the Belinsky articles. So it's directly from journalists, but it's about translating that and still having that human-human connection to the audience through UI. So when we did that, we specifically engaged with DID, and that's a hyper-realistic human compared to other applications, and it still creates that human-to-human connection without it being laborious like some other things, but still advancing with AI at the same time. And we've also incorporated into the Pulse 5 a way that you can actually link to the top 5 articles and see that it's coming from humans. So we're still creating that human touch to our solution.
Thank you very much. The time is up, but the audience is eager to know more about your solution.
Yes. The first question. With an AI algorithm who pushes for your preferences, how do you break the media echo chamber that hinders readers from all accessing types of articles?
Sorry, you're just able to repeat that one for me? Thank you.
With an AI algorithm who pushes for your preferences, how do you break the media echo chamber that hinders readers from accessing all types of articles?
Yeah, absolutely. So I understand that it's important to still get a wide range of content and that it's important to not segment them in a certain way. And that's something you can actually build into the algorithm. So ensuring that people are still getting those top 5 news articles. And for example, whether we want to include a certain preference, such as politics, that we believe is important for young people to know, even if they don't put it into their preferences, it's still something that's very important. And that's something that Belinsky can decide internally that they still want to inform young Danes on. And that's completely flexible to Belinsky.
Using AI tools would be quite a shock for the Danish media landscape. How should Berlingske go about the critical media attention when launching this feature?
So I think it's important that we mentioned, and when Belinsky does roll this out, that it's very important to highlight that we're not actually generating content, and it's coming from Belinsky journalists. Without having Belinsky journalists, you're not going to be able to have Carl producing content. So we need to make sure that the communication is clear in the marketing of this, that this is still coming from the journalists, but we're just presenting it in a way that makes it engaging to the users.
Beyond reliance on external partners, what other risks have been identified, for example, with technological failures, market acceptance, and how are they being mitigated?
Yep, I'm happy to walk us through that. So, the 4 key risks that we identified here is across both monetization and the engagement of it. The main one to consider here is the nature of the implementation of AI. The key thesis behind our consideration is to generate value for Belinsky starts and ends with creating value for the consumer. And so when it came to engagement and the implementation of the technical tools, we intentionally chose technologies that are tried and true. Leonardo AI, DID, and we've seen these use cases in particular with the implementation of digital humans across 3 main ones. The first one being with Unique, we saw a 350% uplift in terms of customer engagement. With the telecommunications company Deutsche Telekom, we saw subscriptions in the premium package double after the adoption of digital humans, whilst thirdly, we saw Unith AI, through the adoption of digital humans in their Article Plus package, saw a 235% uplift. And so what we've aimed to do is intentionally use technologies that are tried and true and have a successful track record, and that's the main way that we're tackling that engagement and that technical risk. And echoing the comments of Taylor earlier, we've intentionally chosen to not look at AI-generated content. The content is from real journalists, from real people, and we're aiming to simply amplify the platform in sharing it to the readership.
TikTok and Instagram's algorithms are already so good at personalizing content. Why would users open another app?
So I think it's important to realize that we're all becoming hyper aware of our biases that appear in apps such as TikTok and such as Instagram that come through the algorithms. And I know that from conversations with other people my age and young adults, we are all looking at ways we can address our biases. And I think Belinsky can actually play a critical role in helping people address that. TikTok's role in segmenting your For You page into one side of the story is actually not helpful and is not going to be helping young adults become informed. So I think this is actually a key part for Belinsky to take that role and ensure it addresses those biases. And as we become aware as a young generation, particularly in light of the election that's come out of the US, we're all aware that we have these biases. So it's that awareness that will make them look for an app that's going to address those biases in their For You page.
Great. Unfortunately, there's not time for any more questions, but let's give Edge Consulting a big round of applause. You can just exit. Thank you. Thank you.
What an evening of inspiring, innovative solutions. A huge thank you to all our 3 finalist teams for their exceptional presentations.
Our judges now face the challenging task of finding a single winner out of these exceptional teams. And on that note, judges, if you could please make your way out of the auditorium. Thank you so much for spending your Friday evening with us. Let's give them a big round of applause. While the judges deliberate, we will have a short break, so that gives you the chance to stretch your legs, relax, and reflect over all the incredible solutions that we've heard here this evening.
Yes. Don't forget to be back at 6:40 for the big moment, the announcement of the winner, and of course the celebration that follows. See you back soon.
Cheers, guys. Very well deserved. Thanks to the involvement of our preferred partners.
It is an opportunity of a lifetime.
3,600 students from all
entrepreneurial experience.
It started as an idea taken back to CBS from going abroad. They had been over to the US and participating in case competitions and thought that that would be a great idea to also bring home to CBS.
The inspiration was definitely that competition at Darden, Virginia. It was a great event, but I also think that Martin and I, we looked at it and said, there is an opportunity here to do something that can be absolutely the best in the world. The first task we had to do was to really get the support from the Copenhagen Business School.
I very often said this, education at CBS has 2 core components. Learn the mathematics, learn the topic, but also how to be a citizen and how to act together with other people, how to collaborate. I've never, ever met successful people that have done it alone. It doesn't exist. You have to collaborate and be able to collaborate. So it's a small test for what will happen when you enter society.
And then I think, our focus was really to get a good team around us.
It was a question of saying who can we find in our network who has the same drive and ambition level.
Started out in 2002 as a team host, and the competition was similar to what is called the invitation competition today. So it was 12 visiting universities that were competing against each other in the traditional case competition.
To set that ambition level and say that, we want the sponsors to be Carlsberg,
investing in education, investing in young people is in the DNA of Carlsberg. A great appraisal for me for what you're doing. I think it's extremely high level.
I think what inspired us was that it also had a social element.
My most fun memory within CCC is definitely the cabin trip.
The cabin trip.
The cabin trip that we did internally before even kicking off anything, because there you really get to know the people that you're going to work with for all these months.
A huge house with an indoor pool.
I don't know if every memory would be good to disclose.
Our annual award banquet is by far the best happening.
The award banquet afterwards where you can relax.
Kind of culminated, you're done, you're finally free.
It's sort of the culmination of all the hard work that everyone has been doing.
And you get this one final gala party.
So the organization behind CCC has evolved immensely throughout the years. And the way we actually also have now embraced another competition into our family.
Many felt that you didn't include so many people, so we had this huge event at CBS, but it was basically for 4 students of CBS together with 11 other school students. And then why would we do this big of an event and not include more people?
Beat the Elite was, a format to somehow democratize problem solving or case solving.
The Beat the Elite competition is an opportunity for all students to test their case solving abilities.
The CBS case competition was founded on inviting the best schools and students from all around the world to participate in a very exclusive case-solving event. So, it was just a matter of let's invite the masses.
You could sign up as a student at CBS. We have 12 amazing schools participating in this case. Can you beat them? Hence the name as well. Can you be better than the 12 best schools in the world?
And throughout the years, this was a success to some extent, but they hadn't really found a format that really also caught the attention of enough students. So establishing the board of directors has enabled us to actually create a common red thread through all the years.
I guess it was in order to ensure that we kept the knowledge, because we keep having 20 plus new students each year reinventing, and sometimes it would be good to have a board or a force that you could go and ask.
Overall, I would say it was a positive experience to have the experience from previous OCs. They were a strong support, and a lot of times where we called them up or had them in a meeting and discussed some key issues, they were pushing us to push further, which was, I think, what the board needs to do.
We wanted to also focus on some initiatives and strategy that went a little beyond just 1 year's case competition.
My desire to be part of the board of directors, actually, it was something that was already there when I was steering, because you're in it, you don't want to let go. It was 2 great years that I would not have been without. So the open competition was actually a result of some of the ambitions that Benedicte and I had going into it. And we thought that there was some potential in the Beat the Elite format that could be further augmented. We wanted to expand the geographical scope further to Northern Europe. So we started off by putting it on the organizing committee to come up with a format that could enhance the experience of the competition. So how could we open it to a larger group of students?
And it's our first case we're ever trying to do.
And that's how we ended up expanding the borders of the competition.
But it was very much attached to the invitational competition. You would have the invitational competition getting launched.
Welcome to the CBS Case Competition Finals.
And people could join and then solve the case in a team of 4. And then, if they were really good and very lucky, they could get invited for the final rounds of presentations.
But in 2019, the first year that I joined the organizing committee was when we transformed Open into Global.
I'm sitting here with the document from 2019 where Carlsberg actually was a case for the global case competition. So not only have we a physical case competition here for the week running here, but now there's also global case competition.
We saw interest from basically almost all continents the year before. So this very much motivated us to create a format where everybody was essentially able to participate across the world.
3,600 students from 84 different nationalities signed up and competed in this 24-hour case competition.
We had to figure out how to take something that was inherently in person and find a way to make the whole experience online.
Thousands of cases coming in a very short period, setting up a system that allowed us to rate and give personal feedback. It's an important part for us to make sure that we didn't lose any of the sort of DNA of what it is to partake in a case competition, which is the learning part.
And the logistics behind it all and figuring out, okay, how we're going to get visa for people from China in the span of 3 days.
I think it worked out pretty well. There was a lot of sort of first-time errors that we learned from, and that's how it should be.
We spent half a year developing a platform, and then when the case launched, the button that was supposed to allow people to download the case was broken. How do we get the case to 400 teams around 60 different countries so that they can still participate?
But I think the digital aspect really set the bar higher for that year because it allowed us to go beyond some of the quite literal physical limits that Open had, which was, I think, the difference maker.
So I think it has been pleasing for me to see how you have actually managed to step up and make this even more professional year after year.
I think the biggest challenge that we've faced in CCC while I've been part of the organization is definitely COVID.
A SARS-like virus which has infected hundreds in China.
Italy and Spain are the latest European countries to tighten
COVID rates across the continent have been spiraling. Denmark is the highest.
You know, one of the things that made me extremely proud and really happy to see was, for instance, last year during COVID.
We started out in the middle of a lockdown. And it was hard to meet physically. We did a lot of online meetings and so on. And we ended up, being on the verge of canceling the entire thing. But we all wanted CCC to succeed. So we did a more of a digital version.
What we will do when COVID hits, let's just cancel it. Seeing how the teams just jumped on it and said, okay, we can do something that is amazing online. That is the ethos of what this competition is all about.
I think in total we work with 6 different scenarios on how we could host the invitational competition.
What we could expect, I think, was constantly changing.
And it was very challenging to onboard the partners. We didn't have any material, we didn't have any data, that it was going to be a success.
So we did a more of a digital version, which still played out to be great for participants, for the companies and so on.
And they actually succeeded in having a case competition that was on all levels at par with what we are used to seeing from CBS case competition, just without the live audience.
Program, but if we're moving fully sustainable by the year 2025, this would also really help in the long term as well.
When 20, 30 students with a common aim gets together, works hard for a year, blend work and fun together, it is impossible not to create lasting relationships.
I met my girlfriend when I was part of the organizing committee. So if you don't want to do cases but you're single, then you can also just show up. It might be worth it.
I think it's a great mix of getting to learn a bunch of stuff and getting exposed to case solving, and in the meantime having lots of fun and meeting new friends.
You gain something from being part of CBS case competition that you cannot gain anywhere else.
It probably can't be beaten by anything you're doing, even in your workplace in your formative years.
I'm not quite sure where CBS case competition and business battlefield and our organization as a whole will go in the future. But I hope that the future generations of organizing committees will actually also push the boundaries and create something new.
And that's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to be a case competition. It's still that innovation. It's still that focus on leaders of the future that is the underlying drivers.
It's lots of hours, lots of learnings, and lots of laughs. Ej, det var vildt. Det må jeg sige.
Welcome to the final of CBS Global Case Competition 2024.
We're super excited to have flown in the top 3 finalists from all over the world.
And this year, our case company is Novo Nordisk, and we are so excited to see what the 3 teams will come up with and how they've tackled the case.
To announce that the winner of the competition is team number 2, Team Blessed.
It feels amazing. It feels amazing to kind of be here. When we signed up for the competition, we definitely didn't expect to be this far, but to be here and to be flown out to Copenhagen and have had the amazing experience that we have had is really mind-blowing. So very, very happy to be here and to have won.
I have to say I am so impressed. The students here, the way that they approached this task, the way that they were able to grasp the key of the issue in a very short time frame, the way they presented the solution, I am utterly impressed. I just have to say that.
We're not done yet. We have next week where we have the invitational final, and we are very much looking forward to hopefully seeing all of you there, witnessing some of the best universities competing in our invitational case competition.
We are a media company and we are called Berlingske Media. It's a Danish media company. It's been around for 275 years. We are in the business of democracy. The world as it is today is more chaotic than 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. We have much more misinformation these days from governments, from different organizations. I think it's important that we find a business model that can support people getting information that is trustworthy and that they can rely on when they make decisions. The past years, Berlingske Media has been transformed into a digital media company. It's still the traditional legacy brands Berlingske, Weekendavisen and BT, plus Euroinvestor that we publish. It's all done digital first. The whole organization is a matrix organization, so all 4 brands are supported by the same IT, the same sales departments and so forth. The challenge that we would like to give you today is regarding our main brand, Berlingske, which constitutes about half of our turnover.
I'm the editor-in-chief at Berlingske. We have existed since 1749, but we exist now in an ever-changing world where the conditions for making journalism in a healthy democracy is changing rapidly. And it's our responsibility and my responsibility as an editor-in-chief to make sure that the journalism that we deliver is actually fact-based. The reason why we need to have a profitable business is to make sure that we can afford the journalism that can do a positive difference for our democracy.
Our challenge to you is, how can Berlingske evolve its digital offering to better engage and retain users aged 18 to 30?
Thereby reaching an additional 5 million kroner in revenue within this segment by 2027.
We hope you're up for the challenge.
Good luck and thank you.
And welcome back from the break. We hope you're as excited as we are for this big moment coming up. figuring out who will be the winners of this year's global case competition. My name is Caroline, and I'm joined by Rasmus, and together we are the steering committee of this year's CBS case competition. But before we went into organizing case competitions, we actually both participated in the global case competition. So this means that we know exactly what all of the participants have been going through with this case. We know all about the stress of doing 24 hours of case solving and all of the mistakes you can make and the stressful times in the middle of the night. However, unfortunately, neither Rasmus nor I made it to the final of one of the global case competitions we participated in. So we can only imagine all of the nerves that our participants have been going through and the excitement that you have experienced tonight. So let's give them all another round of applause.
Hosting an event like this requires a lot of help. It is not a secret, it is no small feat. We started working on this back in May when we recruited the new organizing committee and has been working tirelessly ever since. It requires a lot of internal help from the organizing committee, but also a lot of external help from all of our partners. As well as hosting this event 4 months earlier than we usually do really puts the prior statement to a test. For that, we have many people to thank. You've probably noticed a group of young people walking around in dark navy suits like the ones we are wearing. They are all, some have been here on the stage, some you saw down at the entrance, some have been walking around fixing stuff, and every one of them are working towards the excellence of this event. So far, I think it's going pretty smooth. Their common goal is ensuring that this event runs flawless. These individuals make up the organizing committee of CBS Case Competition. There are 34 of us, and each person has played a crucial role. Since the planning began, they are the ones who have attended Monday meetings Monday after Monday since May. They are the ones that have bonded over late nights at our office, at the occasional night out, and at our legendary cabin trip. Over time, for Caroline and I personally, they started out as people we might not have known that well, but during the last 6 months, they have all grown to become friends. And without these people, tonight would not have been a possibility. So I think we all should get together and give the organizing committee a big round of applause for this event.
Of course, we would also like to say a huge thank you to Berlingske Media for being this year's case company of the Global Case Competition. We would like to thank you for believing in case competition and seeing the value that it can bring to your company. We would like to thank you for the collaboration, how smooth it has been, and all of the help that you have provided to our case developers and the support throughout the entire case writing process. And in the end, we would like to thank you for giving this really interesting case that has been super relevant but also relatable for all of the participants that have been solving this case all around the world. So a huge applause to Berlingske Media as well.
We also would like to thank our partners and sponsors for this event. I would like to direct their attention towards our consulting partner, Bain & Company, who once again wanted to join us in this adventure and help us as an advisor to the entire organizing committee and helping us with the hard questions and giving sparring, professional sparring outside of the organization. As well as our honorary partner, VML Map, who also once again see the value in supporting CBS Case Competition as they have done for many years and help us in executing our events and seeing the value in supporting young students at CBS. As well, we also need to mention Boost and 23, who are also our partners who has contributed to the making of this event. So I think we should also give them a round of applause. And now, it is time to get back to what this is all about, the competition. So we would like to invite all the teams back here on the stage with Caroline and I. you are all standing here today because you were the best of the best. Among almost 3,000 participants, you're the 12 ones that prevailed. You're standing here today in the final of CBS Global Case Competition, and that in itself, you should remember, is a huge feat, and it's a huge accomplishment only accomplished by very few people. The Global Case Competition is the world's largest open case competition, and reaching the final is a tremendous feat. And all of you come from all over the world, some from Australia, some from Canada, some from Italy, and you, last week, you didn't know you were going to go to Denmark, and here you stand. And for that, we want to thank you, because without you people here in Denmark, there would be no global final. So thank you for that. And I think we should kick it off now. I would like to invite Jens Hjortegaard, senior partner at Bain & Company, to the stage to show the Best Presenter Award to the person who has done an outstanding presentation tonight.
So, thanks a lot, and I guess I'm in between something more important, so I'll do it fast. When you do presentations like this, one thing is of course the idea. Another thing is how you actually present it. And being a long-term consultant, I can probably testament to the fact that presentation is probably, and in some cases, more important than the content. And what are you actually looking after when you look at presentations? Well, you're looking at the sharp, the clear, the natural. You're looking at somebody who can convey a message in simple words, at a pace that makes sense, and that you can practice. And you all practiced quite a lot. We could see that, which was very, very good. But then comes the other natural part, which is when the questions come. And when you sort of loosen up and you start being a little bit relaxed in standing on the stage, and then start answering questions, and there were some curveballs. And I think I can, on behalf of everybody, say that you did great. All of you did freaking awesome. So congratulations on that. We did in the jury have a long discussion about who was actually the best presenter, and it was quite hard. But we had one who stood out. We had one where we felt the naturalness come through. We had one where the answers to the questions on media bubbles, AI, and so on came natural. It was good answers. It was strong responses. And that is Chloe from Crak.
Great job, Chloe. And now I think we cannot hold the wait any much longer. So in order to announce the placements of the teams and the winner of the CBS Global Case Competition, I would like to invite from Berlingske Media, Lisbeth Røe Jensen, Chief Commercial Officer, and from Berlingske, Tom Jensen, Editor-in-Chief.
Thank you. The first one that we'll do is the third place. And I want to start by saying that to me, you are all winners. I think there were more than 300 solutions presented. There were 9 in the semifinals, and now you are 3 teams participating today. So the third place is a third of 3 winners. It was a solution that I think both Tom and I thought that we wanted to implement tomorrow. This has been an evening of loads of good ideas. The idea, the solution that the third place presented is a solution to something that we have wanted to do for a long time. Letting our readers know their progress in the news world. We want to gamify their newsread. We want to simulate all the things we know from social media, but that we haven't been able to translate into a legacy media brand. So if you haven't guessed it already, the third place goes to, and I'm gonna say it in another way because I don't remember the full name, but the Italian Wolves. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Now it's time for the first place. The two remaining finalists had, something in common. You both introduced AI as a way of communicating with our users. You did it in two different ways, but essentially your idea was down sort of the same lane, and both were really incredible. But we had to choose. So we discussed how we looked at these projects, and we had to choose the one where we felt the furthest vision, the clearest implementation, and also the clearest presentation. Both these projects, if we want to implement them, poses some ethical questions for us to consider. But the way the jury looked at it was that it really was essential for us to have a winner tonight that had the best and furthest vision. And you both did tremendously good. But I have to get down to it now. So the first place tonight at this global case competition goes to Edge Consulting.
An amazing job, and you should be really proud of yourselves, all of you. Let's give them another round of applause when they exit the stage. You may now exit the stage.
Congratulations.
Now, lastly, before we round off, we would, of course, also like to say a huge thank you to our jury. So please join us on the stage. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy calendars to join us this afternoon. Thank you for your great questions that were both challenging but also really interesting to all of the teams. And thanks for making them shine on this stage. Let's all give a big applause to our jury. So now the only thing that's left to say is thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we hope you will all stay for mingling afterwards. Thank you.